Greetings, Journey to Wholeness family. This is Kimberly J. I'm back at you this week. I'm hoping everyone is having a wonderful week, that you all are centered and grounded despite everything that is going on around you, as there seems to always be stuff going on around you. I'm doing pretty well. I'm in the midst of preparing for this Reiki Level One training certification class this weekend. It is going to be a great class. So if you are interested in learning more about Reiki, if you are interested in becoming a Reiki practitioner, if you just want to be able to understand Reiki, to do self-treatments, then I strongly recommend that you take this class this weekend. And so tomorrow is the last day to sign up for it. So if you are interested and you haven't done so, please do so tonight or sometime tomorrow. So I want to talk today about something that has kind of been on my heart and on my mind that I want to just build upon and build primarily with this topic in regards to trauma, generational trauma, intergenerational trauma, historical trauma. And so I was thinking about this after I saw, everyone was talking about this whole Derek Jackson fiasco and his abusive bad behavior front and center for the world to see. And then everyone had these opinions about his wife. And all I saw with his wife, with, no judgment, was that she was immersed in trauma. And so I use that word, and it's a very strong word because a lot of people avoid that word. They don't want to call it as it is and as they see it, trauma. And so what I want to build today on is that finding God, and I put that in quotation marks, finding God, finding religion, finding Christ, being saved, all of those words that we use to, I don't want to say scapegoat, because that's really not it. There's a strong embedded belief that when we find God, we are changing our lives and turning our lives over to God. And, we are resilient and we can put up with a bunch of nonsense and abuse and bad behavior because, God will want us to forgive, and all the things that we tend to say when we find God without finding ourselves. And so I say that again as it being a trauma response. And so what do I mean by trauma response? So trauma response is the way that we cope, so we use these God, and I'm using that loosely, as a way to cope, to cope with what's really, really going on with us, to survive. So we can make the situations, the difficult situations, the difficult times that we go through, so we can cope through it, so we can survive it. So a trauma response is really, how do we cope with that deep pain, that suffering, that trauma, that grief, the things that are, that were depression, how do we cope? And so a trauma response is our body's automatic ability to begin to cope with some of these things. And so what is it rooted in? It's rooted really in survival. It's like this automatic response. So what happens when we are responding out of trauma is that we become constricted, we become numb, and basically we just check out. We check out of our own lives. And that's what I witnessed with so many people who, I just turned everything over to God. I can't do no more. And, it's like you're checking out. And that is a trauma response. That is a fight. With a trauma response is either fight or flight. You're leaving the scene. You're completely checking out. You're not taking or doing the work to look at how do you heal? How do you bring back into balance? How do you find joy again? How do you feel deserved of your life's experiences? How do you feel confident? How do you feel secure? How do you feel at peace? How do you feel at harmony? All of those things, to do all of those things, it requires work, especially after you have experienced so much pain and so much suffering. It's just so much. And I don't even want to say easier. It's just not easier. It's just we automatically go to that place of, fight, where it's me against the world, or just check out. And so that happens when we find God without finding ourselves. And so when you do the work, so what does that look like? So when you do the work to find yourself, first off, you find God within you. And when you find God within you, you begin to be stronger and more empowered not to accept bad behavior, not to accept abuse. You begin to see the light that is within you that says, no, I'm worthy of so much more than this. I'm worthy of so much. I believe in myself. I have faith in myself. I have faith in my ability to overcome my circumstances. So when you're able to see the God that is within you, the light that is within you, the Christ that is within you, the Buddha that is within you, the Goddess that is within you, it builds up your power, your strength, your resiliency, and it allows you not just to survive, but to begin to thrive and only attract the things into your life that honors, that is worthy of that God force that is within you. So that looks very, very different than the blanket finding God. It's like you're finding yourself and you're finding the God that is within you. And you're in a whole different place when you begin to evolve into that space of really finding the divine that is within you. It won't allow you because you'll be focused on building that relationship, on sustaining that relationship, which doesn't have space, where you won't have space for abuse or mistreatment, or abuse or mistreatment even of yourself, of checking out. So you're not checking out, you're checking in. And you're finding out the areas within you that need to be healed. You're finding out the areas within you where you need more self-love, where you need more self-compassion, and you're willing and wanting and ready to do the work it takes to integrate all of those things. And so when you integrate all of those things, you no longer feel victimized, or you no longer fall into the patterns of victimization and of checking out of your own life. And it happens so, especially for Black folks, this a lot of this trauma is historical, and this is what we've learned, and Christianity is part of it, because the way that Christianity was used during colonization, during slavery, and after slavery, the way that it has traditionally been used is a theology at times of disempowerment. And so it tells you just out the gate, you're a sinner, and so then we begin to internalize that, and it's like, okay, well, no matter what I do, I'm a sinner, so I deserve mistreatment. And so that was the doctrine that was taught to us, well, you deserve to be mistreated because you're just a mere sinner, or you deserve to be mistreated because you didn't follow what God wanted you to do. You weren't a virgin when you got married, or we got all of these laws, or you didn't obey your husband, or you didn't do, so we have all of these, indoctrinations and these rules that say you didn't do these things, and because you didn't do these things, you deserve a lowly life. Because you were born woman, you deserve to be subservient to men. So we have all of these conversations, And when I say it out to you all right now, you all are probably saying, oh, girl, she sounds crazy. But that is what we're indoctrinated to believe. That is really what we're indoctrinated to believe. And then it makes us, it grooms us to accept bad behavior. It grooms us to accept abuse. It grooms us to just disconnect from our situations, turn everything over to God and call it a day. You know, to suffer through, to just push through, to just be resilient and just push through the pain. And so that is not, I repeat, that is not what God, Christ, whatever your belief system, that is not what makes you divine, is how well and how good you can suffer. And so it's so important that we begin to unpack a lot of that historical conditioning, even if it is hidden under the covers of religion, and begin to really pull back and re-engage and remember and reclaim who we are as divine spiritual beings, truly made in the image and likeness of God. You know, so we live these very bipolar lives where, okay, we say, yeah, we're made in the image and likeness of God on one hand, and then on the other hand, I'm just a lowly sinner. I was born into sin, I'll die into sin. And so, yeah, so that can make us a little, and we're conditioned to believe these things. We hold these beliefs within us, which internalizes us to, you know, really stay stuck in a lot of situations that don't serve us. Because on one hand, we believe we are these lowly sinners that are, you know, we're supposed to, you know, be resilient and take mistreatment and take things as they come and be perfect, do everything perfectly, and, you know, not cuss and not do this and not do all of these things, be these perfect human beings. And if we're not these perfect human beings, then we need to be punished for not being perfect. And there's no way to be perfect because we're sinners anyway. We were just born sinners. And then the ideology of, you know, made in the image and likeness of God, you know, and God wants these things or has these high expectations for me. So it makes us all a little bit crazy. But please believe that it was intended to do that. That doctrines of oppression, doctrines of fear, doctrines of being a sinner, doctrines of being submissive, all of those things were intentional. And so it gets passed on from generation to generation to generation. And so that's just, you know, food for thought, you know, just in terms of, you know, understanding a little bit more about what trauma looks like. It doesn't have to look, you know, like be glaringly obvious that someone is rooted in a place of trauma or has been traumatized. It just shows up in many, many, many different ways. And so anytime you are in community or even with yourself where you feel like you found God, and because you found God, you know, you're making these changes and shifting your lives, just make sure that you're finding yourself as well and finding the God that is within you, so you don't separate the two. So you're not checking out of your lived experience, because at the same time, you are here to have a lived experience that is in alignment with your passion, with your purpose. You are here to create. You are here to experience joy. You are here to love, to give love, to receive love. And, you know, and so let's get to the root of why we're here, and what it is that we're here to create, what it is we're here to experience, what it is that we are here to learn and to live through. And those are our life experiences. And so, and those life experiences do not have to be rooted in pain and trauma. It doesn't. Continued pain and trauma. We can stop the cycles. We can break the cycles. We must break the cycles. And so that is all I have for you this week. So I wanted to again remind you about the Reiki training class. That's going to be incredible this weekend. I'm really looking forward to that. And two, forgiveness, talking about forgiveness and kind of what that is and what that isn't. I just created a new course that you can go to Journey University and check out about forgiveness, because I believe that a lot of people are conceiving it to be something that it isn't, and again, using that as a way to absolve us from doing the hard work of forgiving self. And that's where it starts, within self. And so that's it. If you have any comments, just go ahead and put them out there. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week. Blessings.